Today we are joined by a good friend of mine. We met way back in high school. I knew of her existence in middle school, but we weren't friends until high school. And I think we got kind of close in the last couple of years. Maria, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Josh. And I'm sorry I don't remember you from middle school.
We can talk about that because I think we've had funny conversations about that. Give them like a 1 to 2 sentence introduction. Go.
Oh God, daunting. 1 to 2 sentence. So I'm Maria. I'm a friend of Josh's. I have known Josh since apparently middle school, but I thought we met in high school. And we've been friends since. And I am also queer, so I am a fellow fruit.
Fruits.
Podcast is about to get extra fruity.
Yeah.
Am I your first other gay on this podcast?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit how we met. So this is from my memory, because clearly she made more of an impact on me than I did on her.
So sorry.
So in middle school, we were in strings together. And she didn't know who I was. I was one of the only cellists in the group, and I remembered her. So that I don't know when we talked about it, but I remember it was maybe high school, university, or something.
Yeah.
I remember being like, "Oh yeah, I knew you since we were in strings together in middle school." And she was like, "What?"
Okay, listen. In my defense, Josh was a year younger than I am, or was. Yeah. You still are.
Yeah,
Josh is currently a year younger than I am. So you were in a different grade, and I feel like there's such a weird thing in school where it's harder to know the people in different grades,
especially middle school and elementary,
and especially lower.
Yeah.
I feel like it's more like I remember some of the kids that were older than me, but I don't remember the people that were younger.
But the thing is, the worst feeling is that there wasn't 12 cellists. There was 2 of us, right? So some person that I will not name, and then me.
And I remembered him, but I didn't remember Josh.
And I was like, what? How could you not remember? And I remember oh yeah, Maria played the violin. And she was like, how did you know? I remember that conversation.
If it helps, and we'll talk about this later, I was a very sad child in middle school.
Yeah.
Depression.
Depression.
7th grade depression.
That's when mine started too.
The title of this podcast is called 7th grade depression.
Okay, wait. So now we're going to fast forward to high school.
Okay.
We were in band together.
Yes.
And so I do not remember the definitive moment of when we became friends, but I just remember our grades got along really well.
Mm-hmm.
We were tight. I remember just right at the beginning of the year, we were so close. We became friends really quickly with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when you graduated, it was one of the hardest things for us because we were such a tight group. I could have graduated with you guys. Did you know that?
I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, I just decided to. I knew that they would kill me.
Your grade?
Yeah, they would literally kill me. So I could have, because I did basically all my grade 12 stuff in grade 11.
Wow.
But now, so you know what?
Oh yeah, because you did university classes in grade 12. Josh is a keener.
Yeah, I'm a keener, and I did it so I can escape my problems.
Oh yeah, fair. Also relatable.
But I just remember maybe I remember just chatting with you one time at the band, and just because you were always in front of me. You're at the clarinet in the clarinet section, the second row. I was one of the only tenor sax. I was the only tenor saxophone, and you were always in front of me. But I remember we had these 1 or 2 conversations, and then I got to know some of the other friends of yours, and then we just were chill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our band went to Cuba together in high school. Were you there for Seattle, or was that the year before you joined?
No, Seattle.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was kind of the Seattle trip was what made us all really close. Because it was one, we were all chaotic in a gong show.
Oh, yeah.
And even thinking about those trips, they probably were not okay, but we grew a lot together. Yeah. One of my funniest moments, I know I put that later on in the schedule, but I remember we were in our Seattle hotel rooms, and you and Mel would just call people and be like, open the Bible and be like, in the beginning, and just start reading from the Bible. And that was one of the funniest moments I remember. That's when I was like, Maria is a funny person.
My secret past of harassing hotel guests.
Do you still do that?
No.
Oh.
I also never stay at hotels. The only time I stayed at a hotel recently was for work, and I feel like my boss would be very sad if I was calling other guests.
I'm way more into the Airbnb life now, because it's more homey.
Yeah.
You know?
I know I have such mixed feelings about Airbnb because I know on the one hand it takes away from rental availability. So as a renter, that makes me very sad.
Mm-hmm.
But then as someone who's like kind of broke, being able to stay in an Airbnb instead of a hotel is also real nice.
Exactly.
So
Yep. So yeah, I don't know. I think in high school we were kind of just, we were friends. We weren't like deep, like close.
No, I would say we were more like peripheral friends.
We were peripheral friends.
Well, like, you know, like I feel like we each had our own like core friend group, but like when we did like things as groups, we were together.
We were a gong show. We went to like people's houses together, events, parties. Your picture on my phone is you in one of our classmates' shorts. Do you remember that?
I don't.
You don't? He wore such a big shorts that it just fit your entire body. I showed you this.
People of the podcast, I have a terrible memory for things like this, and people remember things about me.
You can zoom in, but that's
oh my god, it's
you know beautiful. Who I'm talking about.
I think I do.
Yeah.
Okay, for those of you that can't see this right now, it's just me basically up to my neck in a pair of orange shorts.
I took a picture of that and saved it as her profile ever since.
It's beautiful. It was probably from a flip phone too, that photo. Did you take it on a sexy
no,
razor?
You know what
it
something? It was on a BlackBerry.
Oh,
I actually really like BlackBerry, but they're all like discontinued now.
I was just gonna say, where's BlackBerry? Sponsor the pod,
please.
Unless you're out of business.
Unless you're bankrupt.
In which case, we'll maybe try to sponsor you. No.
But yeah, like we were like, I would say we were really, like, we were just like friendly. We were like, you know, you came to my birthday parties. We had hangouts. We continued to hang out in university to like Van Fam. We did board game nights. So like very like peripheral friends. But I guess like Van Fam was kind of like, we were close. Like we did things together.
Yep.
But yeah, so I'm gonna jump a little forward now to I think when I came out.
A great story about this.
So 2015 I think I sent you my testimony.
You did.
Because I had like a testimony sharing. I think you couldn't make. I remember you couldn't make because she's a supportive person. She would have been there.
I would have been there.
But I was like, hey Maria, I want you just to listen to my testimony and I want you to share the hilarious story you told me like last week.
Yeah, so I had actually never told Josh this before. But he sent me his testimony as like, I think you had recorded it as an audio file.
Yes. Yeah.
So I truly think I got a Facebook message from him. I was living with my family at the time and I was sitting in my parents' like TV room, literally playing Assassin's Creed. Shout out to Assassin's Creed.
Shout out.
Sponsor the pod.
Anybody, great game. Honestly.
And Josh sends me this thing and he's like, hey, like I wanted to share this recording of my testimony with you. And I truly thought it was going to be you saying some nice words about Jesus.
About the Jesus and the God? Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? I'm going to be able to listen to this like I would a podcast. I'm going to play my Assassin's Creed in the background. I'm just going to slap this on my like crappy old MacBook and just play. Yeah. And truly I turn it on and it's like sniffling sounds and then Josh being like, I'm Josh and I'm gay or something. And I was like, holy shit, this is not what I expected. I died in Assassin's Creed because I was surprised.
Rest in peace.
And then I listened to it without playing Assassin's Creed in the background, and then I cried. So I was just sitting there in my parents' TV room, heave sobbing. And, like, anyways, took me a second to get back to the video gaming.
Yeah, I wanted to apologize for allowing your character to die. I know how hard that is.
No, it's okay.
To be fair, I remember when I sent this testimony audio to like a bunch of people because all my friends that I want to know, let them know that, you know, I did a huge thing. I did say, please don't tell anybody. I remember saying that in like just like let you know, just keep it to yourself. So you know, maybe I did warn you, but you weren't like, you know what? Maybe it's just a little like fun little Jesus moment.
I don't think I even clocked that. Like, to be clear, I didn't tell anybody because I know that outing people without their consent is a shitty thing to do.
Yeah. No.
Ooh, are we shout outing some terrible people on the pod? Yeah. We'll come back to that apparently. But yeah, I must have just glazed over that and just been like, I guess it's like a secret thing. Like, I don't know, maybe I just assumed that whatever it was that you were sharing was like part of your religion, that it couldn't be shared more widely. So
do you remember like any thoughts that went through your head like when you were listening to it, other than the fact you were sobbing?
I think I am a dedicated listener to this pod, as well as Rice Wash, Josh's other pod.
Shout out.
And I think I would echo what everybody else has said so far. Like, I just like had no idea. First of all, I had no idea that you were gay, and second of all, I had no idea. More importantly, I had no idea that you were struggling, and like I just always saw you as someone who was like so joyful and fun-loving, and like you were always the life of the party at a lot of the things we went to, and so I think I was just like really struck by like, holy shit, you know, you've been dealing with something really, really intense that's been leaving you in a really dark place, and I just had no idea. So I think that was what stood out the most.
Do you remember when you were listening to it? Because I gave nicknames to everybody. Were you able to like figure out those people? Do you remember?
Again, my terrible memory.
Yeah. I want you to listen to it right now. 20 minutes, go.
I would listen to it again.
Sob again. But don't play Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, I would cry again.
Yeah.
Was I able to tell? I would say probably I had some guesses, but I seem to recall that I had to ask you for clarification.
Yes, yeah.
Because once again, though, like even knowing, like obviously these people that Josh was sharing about, I think most of them, if not all of them, were from our high school. Yeah. Maybe so. Yeah. So it's like people I knew. So again, I think that was surprising too, where I was just like, oh, like these are people that like I interact with, and I once again would have had no idea. And like some of the stuff that you shared was like said to you or about you, I was like, damn, if I had known that person talked to you that way, like slam dunk.
Slam dunk.
Slam dunk.
So like you came to my baptism. I remember that. You came to my baptism, and so like I remember like just that support from you, like honestly, like was so touching. And but like I guess for you, like I know you mentioned in our Rice Wash podcast,
Rice Wash.
You grew up in Greek Orthodox, right? And so even just hearing my story or my journey with religion in general, do you remember it being like, oh, like I never really thought that those two could be a thing, or like, do you know what I mean? Because I know it's a huge question for me for my entire life, but
that's a good question. Do you mean like,
did it shock you in like, oh, Josh is a Christian and also his sexuality isn't quote unquote normal?
We'll get back to that.
Yeah, we'll get back to that.
I don't think it shocked me per se. More so, it just left me feeling like, that's sorry for you, that's not the right words, but like I think it just broke my heart to know that those two things, often it's hard to exist in both spaces. Like I think, and not to say like there's some really rad religions out there that are affirming towards queer people. Shout out to Randy. I don't know if I can say your last name, but
I'll bleep it out.
Shout out to Pastor Randy. You know who you are.
You know who you are.
But I think like, yeah, like just knowing how often some of the traditions that come with religion, and not even the religion itself, because like we've talked about before, like there's actually nothing in the Bible that talks about being gay being wrong. So take that, homophobes.
Take that.
Yeah. So I think more so than anything, like I just felt like sad that I was like, wow, this is going to be really hard to hold both, like existing in both spaces at the same time is going to be really challenging. And it's possible, and it is beautiful, and you're doing it, and that's amazing. And I can appreciate how it would be really draining and heartbreaking at times to have to be kind of in both those spaces.
It's interesting you say, because I never really thought a bit of like two spaces, right? Like, because I think for me, like my biggest struggle was just the fact that I was just like, I'm in one space. This is my life. Like, why is these two things that are come so naturally to me just fighting against each other? And I mean Christianity is something that I had to process and learn and truly choose to believe in, right? So that's something that I chose to do. But my sexuality just literally just like, hello, like it wasn't like I chose it. You know?
Heard it here first, everyone. It is not a choice. You can run, but you can't hide.
Right. And so like I just like, for me, like it was always just this one space, and for me the struggle of letting these things just kind of coexist. And I mean most of my life has been that struggle of like, why do we separate it? Why is it suddenly like, oh, you're a Christian, we love you, great, God loves you. Oh wait, you're gay? Just kidding.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. Sorry, Christians. Like, sorry.
Unless you belong to Pastor Randy's church. Keep doing you. Is this just an advertisement for...
No, I'm not saying anything. She's really good at advertising all our stuff. But yeah, I don't it was tough. It was really tough. But it was like one of those things where I had to, well, just read the words of the Bible and just like research and like actually look things up, because for me, like, I was taught it as a kid, and I think that's the biggest betrayal, was that you know, these adults were the ones who are supposed to protect me and educate me, and for me to grow up as an adult and be like, oh wow, those were lies.
This is something that I know we wanted to talk about too, like, and we have talked about before, is that like there's this, I feel like a lot of the time people just have this like caricature in their mind of like what a gay person or a queer person like looks like or sounds like or is like, and like often it's like reduced just to like just sex. And there's this idea that like, especially I think often in like traditionally religious communities, where it's like if you're gay, you're just like wanting to like go around and have crazy sex all the time, and like, you know what, there's some gay people out there that might want to do that. You do you but like it minimizes the complexity of people. Like you're no longer like Josh, who likes sports and also likes piano and also likes video games and board games, and I should do this for your, like, you know, Hinge. Once again, Hinge, sponsor a podcast of Josh's.
Please, any of them.
But you know, like how like Hinge has that prompt that's like, my friend's take on why you should date.
Please.
Josh is a multifaceted person.
I'll put this right now.
Being gay is one element of his personality and his life that is very beautiful and wonderful. And there's lots of other things about you.
We're not gonna go on with that. Thank you for that little quick little review of me. Because what's interesting to me is that was the biggest struggle, was like I was like, okay, so because I'm gay, these people had this preconceived idea. These are the things that I have done, right? I'm a virgin, so like I had never been in a relationship because I've been scared to do anything in my life, which kind of is like, for me, is like, isn't that wouldn't you feel sad for somebody like who had to go through that, to not be able to literally live their life like everybody else is? Like a lot of my friends are married, most of them are dating, like do you know what I mean? And like for me, it's like you're literally taking out the human of that person now. You're literally just thinking that they're doing all these sins that many straight people also do, and probably do it more than the community, because a lot of them are closeted and hiding. Like, so for me, it's like you can't just start elevating these sins of people because they sexually identify as something else. And that was what pissed me off, because I'm like, that's not true. Right? And a lot of the things that this community is doing is because of the church. like sorry, church, you complain a lot about, you know, these people, and you complain about how they're always in your face, but you are too. And you can't ignore that. And I've heard like a lot of people, some people have approached my friends about me, which is really interesting, because that's the classic Chinese way. But like, just talk to me. But like, just the fact that they're, you know, just having these statements of like, oh, like he left the church, like is he like doing stuff? And I'm like, I didn't leave church, I left our church. I'm at a different church because I want to grow and build my faith stronger in my relationship with God. But why am I suddenly not a person anymore? Like, why am I suddenly not a human? Or this kid that you saw grow up and that you loved and cherished.
Like for some reason I feel like sometimes people, like, even if they know you really well before, are just like, oh, now you're just this like flat character. You're an NPC.
I became an NPC?
You became a crappy stereotype NPC in these people's heads, and that is not okay.
That's not fair.
No shame to NPCs in actual video games. You're doing great work.
You're doing great. Thank you for listening to this podcast.
The NPCs. Nice.
Okay. I hope you've been enjoying this episode with my good friend and fellow fruit, Maria. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at The Open Closet Media, as well as if you want to support me personally, you can find me at JMKPoon. So, okay, my question is, because like you've heard about some of my journey, and she had mentioned at the beginning of this podcast that she's also a fruit.
Also a fruit.
I want, could you share just a little bit about your journey? Like, are you telling me like what last year or something? And I'm me going like, we love you so much, but like, whoa, yeah.
Buckle up, boys.
Here we go. Let's go.
Yeah, so I had what the internet has been calling a late bloomer lesbian experience.
Ooh.
I have on some level known that I was gay since I was 11, but had some very homophobic experiences early in my life, which I'll talk about in a second, that basically led me to rampant internalized homophobia and a thick closet. Thick. She thick. And I only dated men for a very long time, and then came out very privately as bi and was like, I'm interested in men and women, but then still basically only dated men. And then actually was in a almost 5.5-year relationship with a man when I realized that I was just gay. However, this guy, Nick, shout out to Nick, you're definitely not listening to this. Nick and I are still amazing friends, and he's a saint and was very supportive through my whole journey. So yeah, but basically, yeah, so I came out like maybe like 2 years ago now as gay, which was really scary. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. It meant leaving my living situation. I had to move because I was living with that guy. It meant leaving a relationship that was by all other stretches really fantastic. It meant putting up with people who immediately make you an NPC or questions like, does that mean you really like sports now? Like,
excuse me.
No. Sorry, I still don't like watching sports. Also, like, surprise to people on Instagram, if I haven't seen you in person in the last 2 years, you probably don't know this about me.
So I'm just gonna plug this now. Josh, clip this clip.
Hilarious. Yeah, so basically what happened when I was in middle school, I had a crush on
Here we go.
This is what leads to the grade 7 depression that we talked about before. I had a crush on a teacher in my school that was a woman, and I obviously was like a child, a literal child, so I couldn't interpret what it was. Like, I just knew that I had strong feelings around this person, so it's someone that I talked about often, and like I guess I maybe like sent something to a friend of mine over MSN. Shout out to MSN.
Messenger. Sorry, it's one of my favorite
shit.
favorite platforms. Anyways.
I actually was very sad when MSN disappeared.
The nudges, you remember those?
Oh, you know what? I don't actually think I could ever get those because I had a Mac. It was everyone else could have them though, and it was really sad.
Sorry, go on.
And that's what led to me being in the closet.
That's what led to my grade 7 depression.
Grade 7 depression, lack of nudges. No, anyway, so I think I sent something to like a friend. I actually don't remember the specifics, but basically a friend of mine at the time, and if you are listening to this, I have zero qualms with you as a human being at this day and age. We were children, and I completely forgive you for this. But this individual, I guess, found out what I was saying about this teacher. And like, let me be clear once again.
Let's clear the air.
I was a child. I wasn't saying anything gross. I wasn't being sexually inappropriate. I was an infant. Like,
she was literally an infant.
Truly a baby. No, I was in middle school. Yeah. And this person, I guess, like, was in some way perturbed by how I was speaking about this person, and like, you know what? Someone maybe should have talked to me and been like, hey, maybe you have a crush on this person or something. No one did. Instead, this friend of mine told our principal at the time, shout out to my very homophobic principal, that I was talking about this teacher often, and once again, rather than respond with compassion, this principal essentially locked me in what was effectively a broom closet with him. It was like a janitorial cupboard. Sat me down and was like, your friend so-and-so told me about what you said about this teacher, and I want you to know that this is extraordinarily inappropriate. You cannot speak this way. I'm pretty sure he told me it was illegal, which I'm like, I actually
not true.
Don't believe that either. And then he goes, if this ever happens again, we are going to inform your parents and you will be suspended. And I was like, cool. At the time, things were like not great in my home life as well. So like the idea of telling my parents was like extra problematic. And I don't think I fully, again, like at the time I couldn't fully conceptualize what was going on, but I knew that something about me was wrong, I think was what I kind of learned from that experience. And like, it was also growing up in the like 90s and early 2000s, like pretty homophobic, like maybe not as overtly homophobic as like earlier in history, but like
it was still taboo to talk about it.
Oh yeah. And like, again, like queer people were just like stereotypes. Like they were the butt of I mean, when you watch Friends, like the whole thing about Ross's wife in Friends is a lesbian and leaves him for a woman, and that's like the butt of every joke basically. So there was no representation of what it could look like to be gay, especially for me, like a gay woman. Like that was just very confusing. And anyway, so yeah, I became very depressed after that and basically had 1,000 bees in my head for like a decade until I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. And like, you know what, I think back on, you know, when I kind of recognized my attractions and stuff, like the adults just told me what they were taught. You know what I mean? Like, this is literally like, it's just wrong. You just, you know, God hates you, whatever. And so I remember being like, okay, therefore I can't say anything to anybody. I know that. And what sucks is that, like, you know, as we became adults, like we just kind of realized and recognized that literally it was all bullshit. Like, you know what I mean?
I did some epic mental gymnastics to convince myself that what was actually attraction was something else. Like, if it was like attraction to someone older than me or something, I'd be like, oh, like I just like wish this person was my relative or mom or something, like super weird. Like that's not, or like someone that's like more your age, like you could be like, oh, it's not that I'm attracted to her, it's that I want to be her. And it's like, that's bullshit. If you're out there in the audience and you just want to be someone, it's not that. I'm so sorry to tell you. You might be gay.
It's just a little hint, just letting you know.
Oh my god. Okay, anyone listening to this podcast that thinks they might be a lesbian, there's something on the internet called the Lesbian Master Doc. If you read the Lesbian Master Doc and you're afraid when you read it that you might be a lesbian, you're gay.
What? I've never heard of this.
Oh my god, Josh, we're gonna read the Lesbian
Master Doc. Okay, we're gonna read this after.
Yeah, it's great.
But yeah, I totally resonate with you with the idea of we were basically just shoved into that closet. Like we, like, no questions asked, no exploration, no talking about it, because apparently it's just wrong. And for me, like, I think back on, you know, probably around that time, I'm sure there was, you know, theorists and people that researched about it, whatever. And what makes me upset is that those adults that still think the same way, I'm like, did you not, you know, you can't just read this document that was written back then and not read the latest thing.
By some, like, angry homophobe.
I literally, the other day, I, like, searched up, like, because I know that Jesus never talked about this topic, but I just like, did Jesus ever talk? Just because I just want, you know, I wanted to reassure myself. And bam, articles just talking about how, you know, the language is different, the translation, you need to read the translation. These are talking about specific cultural things. Like, I'm like, literally the answers and the questions you have for it are all been researched in the last couple, like, decade or two, and yet they're just ignoring it. And that's like ignorance, which is, I think, also a sin. But anyways, that's just me.
Homophobia is a sin.
Oh my god,
this just in.
You know, that's hate. Hate is a sin. But yeah, like, I mean, we both were talking about, like, one reason why I wanted to have Maria was on this podcast was, well, that we share this journey, but also that we both still have, even though we are out, like, instilled homophobia.
The closet is open.
The closet is open, but
it's still there.
It's still there. Like the reason why I called it the open closet was the idea of like I'm still unpacking a lot of the things in the closet, right? And I'm like allowing people to enter my life to see, you know, this journey, but no, it's still there. Like it's in the littlest things, you know. And I remember we were talking about the other day about like even just allowing ourselves to feel or allowing ourselves to be okay with an attraction, right? And that took me, I think, literally until maybe last year or two, just being like, he's attractive, and that's it. Like nothing else, nothing sexual. Just like, wow, he's a very handsome person. That's awesome. That's it. Like literally, like if you think that's wrong, like you can't tell me that you go around. You can't go over and tell me you don't go around and be like, that's a beautiful person. Oh, they look so pretty, or wow, they're hot. Like, you know what I mean? Excuse me, right? But for me, it's like, wow. Everyone got to do that normally, and I didn't. Like, I watched a TV show on Netflix called Heartstopper, I think.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
Really good
please
show.
Please sponsor. Like, but just seeing these queer teenagers that's able to express themselves made me jealous. Yeah. It made me go, wow, like I didn't experience I didn't get to experience and explore literally myself.
Yep.
Because of I just shut everything in, right? Yeah. Well, I think about, you know, our friends in high school who were straight, you know, able to have these relationships and explore those things, and some of them are not even married. Like we just like decided that, or not decided, we just only were able to experience those things at the age of 26 and 25. Like, you know, like yeah,
it's interesting. Like I do find I have such mixed feelings looking at nowadays, and like I'm so happy for kids now and teenagers now that there's like someone will be like, oh yeah, in my class there's like 3 lesbians and like 2 kids that came out as trans, and like you're just like, what? This is amazing. I swear, like our high school, I'm pretty sure when in my grade, at least, I don't know about your grade, we had 1 kid that was openly gay, and that's it. And it was like, he was a very like, I don't want to say like traditional gay man, because like there's no such, like there's no one way to be gay, but like he fit some of the like quote unquote gay man stereotypes, but like there was no one else, no openly gay women that I was aware of. If you were out there, oh my god, why didn't you say anything?
Yes, same. Yeah,
probably homophobia, but anyways. But yeah, like, and it leaves me feeling like almost like a sense, like you almost like grieve the loss of being able to have a normal teenage upbringing. And like, I feel sometimes like things I'm experiencing literally now, I'm like, oh my god, is this what everyone was doing when they were 16? Like, you're like, oh Jesus.
Yeah. And you know what, I think back on, I'm sure both of us can relate that like we, in a way, this made us, well, maybe bitter in a lot of ways, but also like it made me have to grow up really quickly, because I had to fend for myself. I had to deal with these things by myself because I wasn't allowed to talk about it. And because of that, like I literally shut off so many experiences and the idea of experience, because I'm like, I'm not allowed to do this. Like this is not allowed. And as an adult, like you said, like I really liked how you said grieve, because I never really thought of it that way. Like I grieve literally half of my life. Like half of my life just felt like it wasn't even there. Right? Half of my life was literally surviving. And that's like, I'm really happy for, you know, like my students, and I don't know if any of you guys are going through this. I know some of you are. But like,
it's okay to be gay.
Okay. It's okay.
In fact, it's freaking amazing.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
It is beautiful.
And if you are a Christian, we are all made in God's image. So screw you guys if you guys still think that. But like, just the fact that they are able to have these conversations or have people talk about it, and we didn't. Like we literally, no one talked about it until when we were university, I think. Like,
unless it was in a bad way. Unless
it
was you were the butt of a joke or like a queer stereotype that was negative in some way. But
something came up to my brain. So you talked about like the stereotypes, right? And one of the biggest struggles for me was the idea that I didn't fit the quote unquote gay stereotype.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I can be very energetic, maybe sometimes flamboyant, but that's not naturally what comes to mind or for me naturally. And that was a struggle. And also, like, a lot of people like in the community, like that I've seen like on the media and stuff are all like so ripped and like attractive and like whatever, and I'm just like, you know what I mean?
I'm a normal person.
Yeah, I'm just like a blob, you know, and
the average human.
Yeah, I remember just like that was also a struggle of like,
yeah,
I didn't fit the gay norm.
Yep.
But then then I had to learn and realize that no, it's not. It's just your life. It's just like any other person's life. Everyone's so different.
Yeah.
Right?
I truly felt the same so often, especially, and it's weird as we're talking about this, I'm just reflecting on the fact that like I feel like straight people, the hets, are the hets okay?
Yeah.
Some of them are really not.
Yeah.
To make sense of queerness, almost like when we're talking about very binary, like gay men, gay women, like gay men, to make sense of gay men, they're stereotyped as being feminine.
Yeah.
And to make sense of gay women, they're stereotyped as being masculine. And so I was always, I think, honestly, and I would use that as rationale in my mental gymnastics to be like, well, I can't possibly be a lesbian because I don't want to shave my head. Like, that's an insane thing to think, but like
for me, it's like I don't feel like right now anyways, I wouldn't wear a dress, I wouldn't wear makeup, high heel, whatever, like, but that's just me, right? That's for me. I'm more comfortable in certain clothes, but let's say in the future it does happen, I should be comfortable and not judged to just wear what I want to wear. And well, on that topic about like clothes, like, it's just stupid. I think it's stupid that like people are so just like uptight about what people wear. I'm like, did you know that like one of the first people that wore high heels were men? Butchers.
I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, apparently.
Oh, hilarious.
Right?
I love that.
Yeah. Or like men, we used to wear like robes, dude. Like, that's literally a dress.
Yeah.
Right? And then for women, like, I've seen women rock a suit. Like, hell yeah. You know what I mean?
Also, I took off the blazer for this thing, but I literally came here from a fancy work event, so I looked like a real corporate D-bag earlier.
And I just like, I had this shirt. I'm like, Maria, what is going on?
No, but I agree. Like, and I do like certain masculine clothes, but like, I've never been like, you know, I thought in my head, and that I know this is a huge stereotype and it's incorrect. However, there are people that fit this stereotype, and like power to them as well. But I was like, in my mind, to be a lesbian, I had to have like short hair, couldn't wear makeup, had to wear really manly clothes, and like sports and fucking cars and like whatever else. Like, which like I do like some of those things, but not all of them. Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. Literally, for me, it's just like, we're literally all humans. Yeah. We're all human beings. We all have different interests. We all have different things that we gravitate towards. We all have things that we don't like. Like, it's literally just literally anybody, right? Like, if we were all quote unquote, you know, straight, it would be the same thing. It's just like, I just don't like wearing this color, or I don't like wearing these clothes.
Yeah, but it's funny, like, straight people, it's like there can be so much diversity in what you like or do or whatever, but like the minute you're queer, it's like you fit in this box. Like, trans people are all like this, gay people are all like this, bi people are all, and you're like, this is not why.
Like, or
who
like
did this
like the stupid little comments of like, oh, the guy's wearing an interesting thing, I wonder if he's gay. Like, why can't I just, I mean, I don't, but like, why can't I just wear like slightly more revealing clothes and just be like, for example, crop tops are becoming a thing. I've seen a lot of like straight people wear it. Like, kudos to them. I don't have that confidence, but like, suddenly people are like, oh, why are you wearing a crop top? Like, are they gay?
Also, like, here's a real, we're gonna Uno reverse card.
Ooh.
Have you ever heard anyone be like, oh, that man is wearing a disgusting t-shirt, is he straight? Like, never.
Can you imagine?
I don't think I've ever heard anyone
should we
make
start
a
this
comment
trend?
like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Get back at them.
Reverse homophobia. Heterophobia? No, the answer to hate is not hate.
No, sorry. God, I'm sorry. But yeah, like I struggle with identity a lot. And like, for me, it's just literally, why can't we just live our life? Like, why can't we You wrote this down on your phone. What was that quote I said?
Josh said something amazing the other day, and we were like, we gotta bust this one out.
Maria.
Do you want to read it?
Okay.
It's the second bullet point. We're gonna pretend like Josh is saying this for the first time.
Why do you care so much about my life? Fix your own.
Nice.
No.
Burn.
Drop the mic. Yeah. Like, for me,
smash it on the ground.
Yeah. We all have issues.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm kidding. We all
the end.
The end.
I actually don't. No, I'm kidding.
Well, that's it for today's episode.
So many.
Like, we all have things that we grieve, that we are angry about, that we had trauma from. Like, we all are so insecure, right? And for me, it's like, I struggle so much with my own life, but I don't think even during that whole time, I don't think I judged people that much. Or, I mean, everyone judges people, but like, I didn't go and try to fix someone else's life because I was trying to survive.
Yeah.
And so for me, when I see people that are trying to fix other people, I see that they're insecure and they can't deal with themselves.
Josh, dropping hot facts.
Hot takes. Right? Because like if you are secure in your life, insecure in your body, in whatever, I don't think you would feel the need to have to comment on somebody else's life.
I also just don't understand how people have the time and the energy to be hateful.
Yeah.
I'm honestly like, I'm so tired all the time. I'm like, where do you find the bandwidth for this? Yeah. Anyways.
Where are you getting this energy from?
Don't you want to like cross stitch or something?
Like, don't you want to just sit and watch Netflix?
Yeah, might I recommend binge watching Netflix?
Yes, I totally agree.
Talking about some of this stuff too, like I was just thinking about this idea of like you've had some extremely overtly homophobic things said and done to you for sure. Yeah. And I also think something that people don't always talk about is how hurtful like the not as explicit things can be. Like even just little things like, I guess am I going off script by asking you a question?
No, please. Literally. This is a podcast that has structure-ish, but please.
Amazing. Yeah. I was just gonna say, like, are there any examples that come to mind for you? Like, for example, something that comes to mind for me is like I'm not practicing Greek Orthodox currently, but like I was raised in a church as a child, and like my grandma would always. We talked about this on the other podcast a little bit. Like there was a lot of Rice Wash Pod, a lot of traditional gender roles, and a lot of like. Just flippant mentions to about my future husband. Like it was just like, oh, when you have a husband, or like we'd be shopping together in the Bay or something, and my grandma would be like, oh, I can't wait to buy you a pot like this when you're married, like you can use it to cook dinner for your husband. Which like there's so much wrong with that sentence. Yeah. But I guess what I'm getting at is like I was not even told that my partner in the future could be not a man. Yeah. Like a man was the only option. And so it was hard even to see that was possible when you visually never saw it. Like representation matters. And B, like it was just erased. Yeah. Like the idea of like a gay future or a queer future was just like invisible to me as a child.
I got really emotional for a second because sorry.
Are we gonna cry on the
pod? I hope not. Okay.
I'll cry with you.
Oscar, will you cry with us too? So like one thing that came to mind like right away was my people would just comment about, you know, future wife, right? A future family. And for me, I've always longed to have my own family. I've always longed to have my own kids, but maybe that's not what God wants. Maybe that's not what God wants for my life. And for me, it's like, I didn't choose it. I didn't choose to not be able to have my own family, you know, like biologically have my own family. And like that for me still eats me up because I don't think people recognize that. Like I'm not going to do anything that I don't feel is genuine or authentic and how God wants me to live my life. And for me, it's like, maybe just God it's not in my cards, you know, but it's still hard. Like I still find it really difficult to be like, wow, like my family, my friends have a chance to have their own family, their own biological family, and it like kills me. Like it's so hard because I don't think people really understand that I didn't choose this. I didn't choose any of it.
Yeah.
And yet the hatred is that I chose it.
Yeah.
Right? But as a Christian, like, I believe God has his plan. And what happens isn't his plan. Like, you don't get to choose that for me. But I get like these comments all the time, you know, like even people, you know, like that I thought would understand, be like, you know, maybe like it's a phase one day. Well, it's a phase. Oh, one day you'll find a wife and like a girlfriend and whatever. And I'm like, do you not see that I'm suffering?
Yeah.
Do you not see that I'm beating myself up every day because I don't fit the norm?
Mm-hmm.
And you're easily just being like, haha, girlfriend. Like, did you not remember the time I cried to you telling you how the situation, right? And so I think that's one of the hardest things is that for me, especially things that you don't really choose. Like, it's not, I didn't, you know, and yeah, so that's probably one of the hardest things for me to hear.
I chose to try to be straight for a real long time. Let me tell you, it does not work.
No.
You are not happy.
No.
It's a lot of bees in your head. Or as Nicki Minaj might say, bees in the trap. Please play that.
Wait,
play
right now?
A small clip of it.
Go. Like, and for me, I remember, like, I mean, I probably could have dated a girl. Like, I probably could have chose to do that, but it felt wrong. I felt wrong lying to somebody.
Yeah.
I felt wrong, like, ignoring these attractions and feelings and lying to this person that, you know, I might end up hurting. Maybe I was woke at a young age, but, like, it just felt wrong to me.
Yeah.
And, like, I know for a fact there are people in our parents' generation who are closeted, right?
Oh, 100%.
100%.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like I can't imagine the turmoil and the pain they're probably still going through because they're lying to their family.
I can't imagine.
Right? And remember, lying is a sin. Just to say, like, just not just saying something that's a lie. Literally, your actions, over dramatizing something, all those things are still lies, right? And yet people think it's fine because they're marrying into a straight relationship, that they're having a family that's a gift from God, which is a gift, I think, still. And you can still do great things when you have kids, and you can be a blessing to them. But also there's a lot of pain and hurt from these people that have projected into their children, and have caused many issues to happen.
And it's sad to even think that people feel they have to do that. Like, it's sad that we live in a world where like, coming out is even a thing.
Yeah. Other than the Instagram account, we also have a YouTube where you can find the video episodes of The Open Closet. If you'd like to check us out there, you can find us at The Open Closet Media on YouTube. And just make sure to share, subscribe, like, turn on that bell notification, and spread the word about this podcast. I hope you've been enjoying the conversation and ready for some other funny memories.
Also, can we talk about how exhausting coming out is?
Literally.
Is that a topic that we can touch upon?
Literally, the amount of emotional energy that it takes out of you. Right?
Every time. And, like, it's even with, you're, like, afraid of how people are going to respond. Like, I feel very blessed. We live in a part of the world where, like, generally people are fairly open-minded and liberal, and, like, especially the city we're in. But, like, I don't know, sometimes you're just like, oh. And sometimes the response, people just, like, get so weird. Like, I've had people literally be like, oh, wow, I worked with a lesbian once 20 years ago. I'm like, what part of any of this felt like that was the response? Wow, that's so cool.
This is the worst one. Ready?
Yeah.
Oh, I knew. I had an inkling about it. Like, for me, it's like, great, so you knew that I was suffering, and that you're just like, it's fine. Like I get it. Like, for me, like, I knew a lot of my friends kind of had a thought about it, but for many of my friends, like Catherine, like she had an inkling that I was, but she still was like, thanks so much for sharing. That must have been really hard for you. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if you found out earlier than I told you. It's the fact that I'm literally sharing my heart of all this pain I went through, and you're like, yeah, I knew. I'm like, great, okay, thanks. Like,
yeah. Today we learned, yeah, I knew. Not a great response.
It's not a great response.
Yeah, but yeah, it's an interesting world out there.
It is an interesting world out there.
Being a fruit, simultaneously the best and also very hard.
I like just like my faith, I've seen a lot of the beauty and the hurt from it, right? Like the amount of support and love I've gotten from even sharing this podcast and my story from people from, you know, the hets and
the hets that are okay.
The hets that are okay, and people in the LGBTQ plus community. Like for me, it's like there's so much beauty, but there is also so much hurt that was caused from the church.
Yeah. I feel like I fluctuate sometimes between, there are days where I'm like, I feel so blessed by this, and like I'm so thankful to be a part of like every queer person I know. And I know there's shitty queer people out there. But
there are.
But like every queer person I've met so far has been so supportive, and like it feels so like I feel so well loved and cared for.
Yeah.
And I will be honest, like, and there are times where truly I'm like, this is so freaking lonely, and I wish I wasn't gay. And that's like really fucked that people have to think about that. Like no one should have to wish they weren't themselves. Like you shouldn't have to make yourself feel like you have to disappear or
exactly. And I still feel the same way. Like I've come out 3 times now, like to different groups and in this podcast, and last week I was like, I feel so lonely. I feel like no one understands, but I know people understand. And you know, I'm going to say this to both communities, both to the faith community and to the LGBTQ plus community. Sorry, I have a hard time saying that because I have a lisp. But
are you a homophobe? Sorry,
excuse me. I just can't say it fast enough. That we have to. There's a lot of things that both communities need to work on. We both have a lot of hatred towards each other, right? A lot of things that, well, I think we have to be aware of. Just because you're hurting doesn't mean you can hate the other person. And for me, I could have left my faith. I could have left it altogether and it became bitter and hateful, right? But like you said, we jokingly said hate and the towards hate doesn't do anything. And for me, it's like, I hope like this podcast is just, you know, a little glimpse or a conversation to have, for me to have a conversation maybe with others in the community that like we all have common ground. And you sending hate to the other party, how is that going to do anything? How is that going to fix this relationship or these years of, you know, whatever. And for me as a Christian, like we're told to love. We are told to care for the people that we are interacting with, right? And I don't know about you, but I only listen to people that I respect and love. Right?
I agree.
I don't like, if you are disrespectful or hateful, I just like this, I'm not going to listen to you. Right? And so maybe gain their respect, maybe gain their love, because like, how are we going to coexist in a world that God wants us to coexist in? You know, like, and I don't think people really recognize that. Like, why do you have to comment on someone else's life? You know, why can't you just be a better person? Why don't you continue your own journey of being a better human being and allow other people to do that? And maybe you should help them and support them.
Yeah. I find it so interesting. I think it's so like, I don't want to say you're the only queer person I know that's also still religious. You might be the only queer person I know that's still religious. Personally, that I know. I don't know a ton of people that are still like faith-based. But I think your perspectives are so interesting because it's different than some of the things that I hear out and about. And so, yeah, anyway, that's part of why I like listening to your podcast is I feel like I learn a lot, and I think it's really cool. And I know I think that was actually, even when you were like, in my mind, I see faith and queerness as these two spaces, and for you to be like, well, for me, it's just one.
Yeah.
Like that, I was like, oh yeah, huh. That's a really good point.
Like,
so,
literally, I'm just
yeah.
a human being who believes in God, right?
Yeah.
And then, oh yeah, also I'm gay.
Yeah.
Same thing if, oh, I'm a human being, I believe in God, and I'm straight. Like,
Yeah.
it's literally just the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
For me, anyways. And
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm trying to, that's the message I want to get across, right? It doesn't, like, same thing if, like, you're a human being who believes in God who's single.
Yeah.
If you're a human being who believes in God who's married.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
It's
mean?
just like a qualifier of who you are.
It's literally
yeah.
just like a little
Yeah.
extra thing that's like, you know, my trailer talking
Yeah,
about being musical and all those other things.
Yeah.
Right? It's just another attribute of mine. But for some reason, I think that the church has gone in a way where they just separated everything, right? Literally everything. Like, I mean, a lot of cultural things. It could even be your career. If you're not smart enough, if you're not pretty enough, if you're not, and then suddenly I'm like, oh, literally nowhere in the Bible says anything about that.
Yeah.
So where is all this crap coming from? And we need to stop doing that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not going to stop, but at least we can start this conversation for the next generation.
Yeah.
And so on and so on.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's good to talk about this stuff openly.
Yeah.
Because representation matters. There might be someone listening to this podcast
Yeah.
who is gay and Christian
Yeah.
and is like, I can't be both of those things. And you're like, yeah, actually, you can
Yes,
be.
you can.
Josh
Literally.
exists.
I
so,
exist.
Josh, you are the representation. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Right? And like, I mean, you are too. Like, you know
Thank
what I
you.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing, is like we're all different, so stop making us all the same.
Yeah.
Like, why is that so fun for you? Like, whoever's judging us,
Yeah.
you're literally so different from your neighbor or from other people in your family.
Yeah.
So why is it suddenly that, oh, you're queer, let's attack? Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense to
You
me.
protect, he attack,
Yeah.
he snack.
Jesus Christ. Wait.
Wait, what?
Wait.
Been out of the religious sphere for a while. Didn't know that was in the Bible. Josh, I feel like you had some other questions for me.
Did I?
What were your other questions?
Uh-oh.
Maybe you don't.
Maybe I don't. Do you have any other questions for me?
Mm.
Actually, I want to look at the structure just in case.
Hello and welcome to the intermediate bleeping of me covering up the fact that Josh is looking at his
No, this is fine. This is literally. I just need to know.
I don't know. Are we allowed silence in a podcast?
Um,
I don't do well with silence.
Oh,
I like
really?
to
I didn't know that.
fill the air. When I'm okay, no, not when I'm by myself. I do actually really like spending time alone.
Yeah.
But when I'm like with somebody else, especially if I feel like there's like, I don't know, like pressure to be communicating, gotta fill the air with bad jokes, trauma. No.
Silence is a really good thing, and we got to learn how to embrace it.
Yeah, okay, that's my lesson from today's
Yes, you
podcast.
should take it
Whatever,
out of this.
Josh.
One other thing I was gonna ask you was, like, I know, because like coming out is a different journey for the many different communities in your life. So like for me, like family, friends, faith, etc. So for you, like, what has that been like? For like family, friends,
Yeah.
whatever.
That's a good question. I actually feel very blessed, and I know that this is not everyone's experience, but I have not had any like overt homophobia from my family. I have made a conscious choice, and I don't know, maybe my grandpa will listen to this, so howdy grandpa, I'm gay. I've made a choice not to share my queer identity with some of my elderly relatives, just because I know they wouldn't understand, and that's not because I don't want them to change or to learn, but because I just don't want to have to deal with that personally. But I am out to all of my immediate family of my parents' generation and lower, and some older folks. But my brother was always like, I have one grandmother who has dementia, which is very sad, but it's been a while, so we're past it. But my brother was always like, you should come out to her first, because she's not, it'll be a great trial run. She won't remember. It's like, nice. But yeah, family was pretty understanding. Like, my parents were very supportive. My brother was very supportive. I will say the one thing that was kind of challenging for me was, and I actually started to get my parents to come out for me to other relatives because of this, is that people often are shocked, especially because I dated men and more than one guy and for many years. I think people were understandably pretty surprised, but in their surprise sometimes would say things that I was like, that's kind of offensive.
Yeah.
So for example, I have an aunt who, when I came out to her, was like, oh, like, I'm really surprised because you're so voluptuous, which I was just like, I'm sorry, are you insinuating that like lesbians can't have curves? Like, I don't know. It was very weird. And so it's just like shit like that where I'm like, I know you mean well, and like you're probably not aware of the fact that what you just said was really offensive. Like, or even like I have a cousin, and again, cousin, if you're listening to this, no hard feelings, but I was with a woman for a little over a year, and like we broke up, and I'm like single now and like dating, and my cousin was like, oh, so like you're dating, like, are you dating men again? Like, and so it was almost this like, I'm like, you would probably never ask that to a straight person that just broke up with their boyfriend. Like, you wouldn't be like, oh, are you dating women now? Like, yeah, no, I'm still gay. Like, so just little things like that. Friends have been something I was nervous about with friends, was like, especially same gendered friends who, like, I'm pretty physically affectionate with some of my friends, and like I was nervous about whether or not that would be weird for them, and like whether they would be like, oh, like, because you're gay now we think that you're like attracted to us or whatever. And that was not an issue, which I feel thankful for.
This just came out that just because we're gay doesn't mean we're attracted to every single person in the world. Like, are straight people attracted to everybody? No. I know, it's a weird pervasive myth where it's just like, oh, like, you're a lesbian, are you into me? Like, no, fully not. You know what I mean? Why do you do that to us? Like,
it's not a thing.
Some people are not attracted to me. Sorry. I think that's the last question I had for you. Wow. Yeah,
but it's been good. I really appreciate it. I started a new job recently, and like started that job as a queer person, like, and obviously I've always been a queer person, but like was openly gay at work, and like it's been kind of neat to be in a space where like that's the only way these coworkers of mine have known me. And so I'm like, oh yeah, like I don't have to like come out to you. I don't even think I came out to them. I think I just like referenced my girlfriend at the time or something, and they were like just like clocked in their heads that I dated women, and we're like, okay, we're done.
Right.
Like,
and you know what, actually on that note, like I think there are people in my life that knew me just as this person who was gay and a Christian, right? And those were like the easiest friendships I had because I didn't have to hide anything. Right. But then like two friends I've known for years to have to be like, oh yeah, by the way. You know?
And it's just like, I think part of the exhaustion for me about coming out is the emotional labor of having to explain to somebody how you can be gay and like not realize it for years. Like, I'm like, damn, your brain is a magical thing. Like,
it can lie to you a lot.
It can lie to you a lot, and you can do, like we said before, mental gymnastics. And I think it's just exhausting sometimes when you like come out to somebody and their questions are like, oh, like, how did you not know? And like, how did you? And it's just like, man, I don't want to have to explain this whole thing to like 30 people. Now I'm just gonna be like, listen to the podcast.
Yeah, listen to episode 3.
Listen to Open Closet. But yeah, episode 3. Am I the 3rd episode?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Side note.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. If it's episode 4, I'm sorry, I lied.
Oh.
But like, yeah, I don't like. It's just for me, like, even just the idea what you were saying, how your mind is just a complicated thing that you can lie to yourself. Same with people that are so judgmental.
Yeah. Like,
so maybe, you know, the thought that you have in your head might be a lie.
Yep.
You know, and you know, this is something I said in the religion episode Rice Watched. But like, as a person of faith, like we want to try to know God's heart, and that we hope that God can speak to us and the things that we do, but Satan can also speak in us. And a lot of the things that are in our minds, if we don't, you know, properly think about or properly examine it or properly just be aware of what's going in our mind, that might be a lie too, right? And for me, like, thinking about my faith and the underlying foundation of our faith is love. So it's the things in my head, the things I'm about to say to you, is that coming from a place of love or from hatred? And so for me, it's like, that's why it's so tough to be somebody in a different generation who were fed these lies. So those lies are just so natural to them that they don't even think about reconsidering or think about, you know, exploring that.
Well, and that's the thing with a lot of my like older relatives that I think are actually are probably pretty homophobic. Is that like it's not there's an expression, it's like it's not their fault but it's their responsibility. Like it's not their fault that they think that way because that's how they grew up, and it's their responsibility to examine that and to change that. But you do I my degree is in biopsych, and there's this expression that comes up in like every biopsych or like neuroscience class, and it's like neurons that fire together wire together. But like truly the more you exercise certain patterns in your brain, they do solidify. So if you but you
it's
can
like
change
how
them.
It's like how we believe in certain things about ourselves, right?
Yep.
Learning how to get over that, and like it takes a long time.
Brain plasticity though.
Yeah.
She thick. No, wait, that's not the right. She malleable?
Wait.
Actually, I don't even really understand what that's from or what. Well, I do know what that means.
We're not going to explore that now.
Wait, no. Wait, can we just have an episode where we learn Gen Z expressions?
Oh, that would be so fun.
It's like has nothing to do with being gay.
You can come back to the Rice Wash podcast. We'll do that on there. Okay. That'd be actually really fun. Because now that I'm not really teaching, I have no clue what's happening.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's the only way.
Unemployment.
I want to I want to end on a nice funny note.
What's your nice funny note?
You told me that you had some funny memes of me.
Oh yeah.
Your favorite memes. Why don't you share with them?
Favorite memories of Josh. Do you want me to start with the serious one or the funny one?
Let's just do serious.
Okay, I'll do the serious one. The serious one is honestly like I feel and have felt very close to you since coming out myself as well. Like there's something I feel like that's like, you know, I don't understand your whole experience, but there's parts of your experience that I can relate to, and so that's been something I really appreciate. Like even we were in Vancouver together. Josh and our other friend Christina, bless these two. I was coming home from visiting a friend of mine in Ottawa, and they were in Vancouver, and my flight came into Vancouver, and they truly like were like, we can pick you up from the airport and let's spend the day in Vancouver together. So nice.
So much fun.
And I was like, I'm so tired, so I'm gonna go for this like 30-minute dim sum with you guys and then go home. And then we ended up spending the whole day together. And in the car we were talking about like our stories about coming out and queerness and stuff, and I was just like, oh, Josh. So that's one of my favorite Josh memories. That's the squishy one.
The one where she was in the back and she fell asleep.
I also fell asleep. Yeah. After the conversation was over, though, I will have you know. I was an attentive listener. My fun favorite memories, though. Actually, funnily, there's one that actually just popped into my head. We used to play baseball in PE. Do you remember this?
Yes, I remember the photos on Facebook.
Josh and I hated baseball.
We hated it. Yeah.
Truly, we just like planted our butts in the outfield and just like hung out.
Yeah, it was me, you, I think a third person was there. Yeah. But I remember that Glee was really popular back then. Yeah. And we like did the picture with the L.
Oh, is that what that was from? Yeah. I know the picture you're talking about. I didn't know it was a Glee reference.
That's actually really funny.
Yeah, I remember that. And I'm pretty sure our PE teacher would be like, why the hell are you guys all standing in just a giant clump? Yeah. And we're like, you know what? It's really boring
whenever
out here.
We played baseball or kickball. Oh, yeah. Hated it.
But people also were like shitty at it. Yeah. So if you're in the outfield, you literally never had to do anything because nobody hit the ball that far.
Because we were in grade 9, grade 10, we didn't have a baseball player at that time. Right? None of us played baseball. And then
yeah, our school had like a baseball academy thing in high school, so like some of the kids were real pros.
I'm gonna I'm gonna say this.
Oh, this sounds like a hot take. Brace yourselves.
Why have a baseball academy in Victoria when no other school plays baseball?
Wait, is that actually a thing?
Right? No one plays.
Who did they play against?
No, yeah.
Okay, literally, these people were like a very insular community in our high school. Like, truly, we did not know these people.
But some of you guys are really nice. So, like, kudos to you.
I don't know any of the baseball.
Think of like, you know, I know other schools have like soccer academy. Yeah, but like other schools have soccer teams.
Fascinating.
Anyways, that's like my little like. Maybe you should think about the academies you have.
Yeah, thank you. Josh, are you poo-pooing sports?
I love sports. I wish I was in them earlier. Yeah. That didn't help with my masculine identity journey.
My final good Josh memory is we were playing a board game at there's a board game cafe downtown here, And it was like, I don't even remember what game it was, but it was
something
like
to do with like
castles?
Knights of the Round Table. And,
yeah, it
like,
was something
stuff
about
like that.
knights, and it was one of these games where like somebody is like the traitor or whatever. And Josh played so innocent. Josh can put on a real front, and just in the end, in the final hour, it turned out he was like the traitor the whole time, and we just got utterly wrecked.
Do you remember? I remember the exact moment.
I don't. I just remember it's the most shocked I've ever been in a
So
board game.
in the game, you had to finish these quests in order to win the game. And so we were going around as a team, as a party, to finish these things. But as you're playing, you had to put catapults down on this board.
Oh my god, you have such a good memory.
I know, it's weird. And if you put a certain amount of catapults, you lose because they destroy your kingdom. And so it was literally the last turn. I had the last turn, and Marie was like, Josh, just play the card and then we win. And then I put the glass catapult down and I just stood up and like walked away. And Maria and my friends were just shocked.
You had us.
Yeah.
You had us.
We played that game for like
a
a whole hour or something.
Yeah, that was a good game.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, good memes. Thanks for coming on my pod.
Thank you for having me.
I like to end each episode by saying that I love you, friend.
Oh,
and thank you so much for being on this, and give you a hug, and that's it.
Can I give you a hug
around this
microphone? Oh, wow. I was like... This is really awkward. I hope everyone heard.
And that's it. Okay. Peace. We out. Honestly, though.
Danny DeVito, I love your work.
Thank you. She loves your work. Bye. Thank you for joining us for another episode of The Open Closet. I hope that you gained some insight, some knowledge, some wisdom, as Maria and I just shared our pretty difficult journeys. But I hope that you found some hope, some peace, some comfort in your life. If you are struggling or know somebody that is struggling, I hope that this podcast can help you just bring some light to your life. And just make sure that you share this podcast with your friends, family, and just spread the word. Just know that God loves you and that I love you. I'll see you next time.